Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Ryan, aka Lethal Llama. Before we start, I want to apologize for the long delay between this video and my last major one. It was a combination of me being sick and wanting some time off. In addition, I'm starting grad school soon, so while my videos won't be appearing as frequently, you can still expect the same quality moving forward. Lastly, thank you all once again for your support. Making this channel has been a dream for me, and I couldn't have done it without you. Now, back to the video. Today, I want to talk to you about Detroit Become Human, the newest game from Quantum Dream, makers of the critically acclaimed Heavy Rain and the not so critically acclaimed Beyond Two Souls. But this game comes from an unusual place. About a year ago, my girlfriend showed me a really cool video about what I thought was an upcoming video game. The video depicted a world in which human-like androids were created and mass-produced to serve humans. It posed the question, what if these androids began to feel emotions? And what if these emotions got in the way of their programmed robotic duties? It starred an android named Kara, one such android whose very existence conflicted with her feelings. It was a very powerful scene, and needless to say, I was disappointed to find out that it was merely a tech demo. Apparently, so was Quantum Dream. They were so interested in this idea and world they had created for our tech demo that they decided to make an actual game out of it. At E3, we got a first look at the gameplay, and it was easily my biggest surprise and favorite new game shown. So, let's go frame by frame to uncover any secrets this gameplay demo might hold. The demo opens with one of our main characters, Connor, an android. It's confirmed that there are multiple playable characters, although how many and who else you can play as is unknown, but I have a hunch that one of them is Kara. When we get a close-up of Connor's face, two things jump out at me. The first is how human-like androids look. They have pores, facial imperfections, and lifelike eyes. The second is the glowing blue ring on his temple. If androids didn't have these, I bet it'd be almost impossible to distinguish them from humans. The ring flashes and spins occasionally, almost like a computer chugging along and computing something. As the elevator climbs, we hear about a hostage on the 70th floor, involving a little girl and possibly her android. In the meantime, Connor is flipping a coin back and forth, showing off his impressive and superhuman hand-eye coordination. This coin could possibly be a meaningful item to him, one he brings everywhere, or it could just be a quarter. But, to be safe, I'll point out that the year of it is 1993. The final note from the elevator is the blue triangle on his back and chest, and blue band on his arm, all the symbols of CyberLife, the massive company that creates androids. We'll see these triangles littered throughout the game world. The elevator door opens and we see some form of security or police waiting for him, dressed in all black gear and armor. We find out from him that we, Connor, are a negotiator. Notice also the glass on the ground. This comes from the huge fish tank, as the entire top half of the glass has been shattered and there's water on the ground around the glass. On the right is a family photo, including a mom, dad, and daughter. This is also clearly a very rich family, given the extravagant decor, and given the fact that they own an android. Next, a woman, the hostage's mother, begs for Connor's help. This soon turns to disgust when she realizes that he's an android.
You gotta save my little girl. Wait. You're sending an android?
All right, now, we need to go.
You can't do that. Why aren't you sending a real person?
Clearly, people have strong feelings towards androids, which is echoed in this video, where we see people holding anti-android signs. This kind of makes logical sense, as the one holding her daughter hostage is also an android. But this gives me strong vibes of racism. She knows one android is bad, and assumes all the rest are too. This ties in heavily to the themes of the game, which we'll discuss later. We now see that the man in black is a member of the SWAT team. Next, we meet Captain Allen, presumably the leader of this operation in the SWAT team. This guy as well doesn't seem to have many nice things to say about androids. He also implies that if Connor weren't here, he'd just shoot the deviant android himself. If we pause here, we get a good establishing shot of the crime scene. There's more broken glass and two policemen hiding behind cover. Also, blue triangles. And then we see what I'm calling android vision. Connor uses his android powers to take a more in-depth look at the crime scene. Notice the 58% probability of success right next to his head. This is a super important gameplay mechanic that isn't fully explained in the demo. Fortunately, my boy Colin M from Kinda Funny tells us what it means. Essentially, this number represents your chance at a successful mission. In this case, as we see, it's to save the hostage at all costs. From my understanding, this number starts at 50% and very slowly depletes in real time. This means that if you were to forego any investigating and walk right out in the balcony, there's a 50% chance that the hostage will die. Personally, I don't like those odds. Fortunately, you can increase your chance of success by investigating the crime scene. Despite the percentage always going down, finding new evidence or information will boost your chances of success. But not all evidence is worth looking at. Investigating not important evidence will only lower your chances, so you have to choose wisely. In this case, it seems that Connor does minimal investigating before heading out into the balcony. Notice the blue android blood on the wall, which probably got there during the preceding scuffle. Connor is immediately shot by the deviant android, without even flinching, sending out a spray of more blue blood. It makes sense why androids are negotiators. He shows no fear or hesitation. Connor's temple ring is now red, which perhaps indicates if he's in danger or injured. The other android's ring is also red, which makes sense as he's been shot. The girl he's holding has a scrape on her knee, a missing shoe, and the android's blood all over her. On his shirt reads PL600, which we discover later to be his model number. Connor does his best to convince the android to stop what he's doing, but it's no use. He's tired of being treated like a slave, like a toy. Tired of taking orders, he makes the choice to jump. But things could have been different. We play through the events again, but this time we investigate to get more information that may help us in the negotiation. We find out that the deviant android was going to be replaced by a newer model, the AP700. This discovery is probably what brought about the whole event. After serving his family for who knows how long, they were simply going to replace him. And I'm pretty sure that replaced androids aren't just allowed to roam free. This new model costs $9,000. The owner of the tablet is Jay Phillips, and the date is November 2nd of the year 2036. The reason I say 2036 instead of, say, 2136 is that this game takes place in the near future. The last thing about this image is that the ring on the android is on the left temple, whereas it was on the right on the two we've seen so far. At first, I thought that perhaps women androids have it on their left, but this video proves this wrong, so perhaps it's just newer models. Up next, we find that the child didn't hear the gunshots due to her wearing headphones. This strikes me as the kind of thing that wouldn't give you a boost in success chance, but rather waste your time. Next, Connor uses blood in the ground to determine the model of the deviant, and that it was injured. Identifying enough clues in the environment, shown by the numbers here, allows Connor to recreate the events that took place, then watch it in real time. Notice the bar on the bottom, indicating how far along in the reenactment you are. You can control this to scroll back and forth through the scene. It shows us that the deviant android, while holding the hostage, fired 2 shots. One missed, while the second pierced the officer's heart, killing him. Looking closely at the cop's gun, we find that only 1 bullet was fired. Besides just investigating, you'll have to face moral dilemmas. Connor finds the gun on the ground, and can choose to take it or not. On one hand, according to the American Androids Act, androids are forbidden from wearing or using any kind of weapon. On the other, your mission is to save the hostage by any means necessary. Notice also that you can make this choice by moving your R3 or L3 a certain way, indicated by the arrows. We head back out on the balcony with our new information and a gun. We see our first dialogue choice, and we can lie or tell the truth about our possession of a gun. Although there's no timer on screen in this demo, you can bet that these choices will be timed. Some more choices include dropping your gun or keeping it, talking it out or shooting, telling the helicopter to move or not, intimidate or execute, and more. Each choice you make has direct consequences. All in all, we see 6 different endings. 1. The deviant falls backwards with the hostage off the edge. 2. The deviant shoots you. 3. You shoot the deviant. 4. You push the deviant off the edge and save the girl, but he manages to shoot you as he falls. 5. You sacrifice yourself and the deviant android to save the girl. And finally, 6. The android trusts you enough to let the girl go, but then the SWAT team shoots him. None of these endings, even the ones where you save the girl and complete your mission, seem all that great. There's no everybody wins scenario, which is really cool. These are true dilemmas, making the best choices you can and hoping for the best outcome. Next, we see a really cool flowchart showing the 6 aforementioned endings and the choices and events that led up to them. This implies that these 6 endings are the only ones for this scenario. Let's look closer to see what we can find, and we'll start with the purple text above certain boxes. It reads, "Increase trust," and it appears 4 times. These are instances in which a choice you make can lead to the deviant android trusting you a little more. Sadly, the uppermost instance where you can gain trust is impossible to read, so we have 3 to look at. This box reads, "Collect objects," which is referring to some kind of evidence you gather at the crime scene. This is pretty interesting, because it means that you can gain trust before ever even talking to the android. I believe the reason for this is that finding certain evidence will make your character be able to use the evidence in dialogue. For example, if Connor discovers the evidence that the deviant android is going to be replaced, he may use that in dialogue. Because the trust is gained at this event, it means that no matter what choices you make in the future, you are guaranteed to bring up these objects in your negotiation. You also gain trust if you protect Emma, although I'm not really sure how. The third time you can gain trust is when you negotiate. There's also a chance to decrease trust, denoted by the orange text. Interestingly, this negotiation can lead to 3 different endings. The best is surrender, where the deviant surrenders. The second best is save hostage, where you save Emma but perish along the way, and the worst is bad choice, where the deviant straight up shoots you. If we look here, we see that you can also decrease trust if you end up drawing your gun. The third instance of losing trust is unreadable. Now the red text, which, upon closer inspection, always indicates a failed mission. In this case, it's the 2 endings where the hostage dies, titled Too Late and Wrong Move. There's a third one that's pretty early on in the flowchart, so my best guess is that you take too much time investigating. I'm excited to see if scenarios later in the game have even more complex systems and even more outcomes. Backing up a bit, I found the use of the gun in this scene very cool. In the best ending, Surrender, the deviant android says that he trusts you, which of course relates back to the increased trust we talked about. Remember also that the deviant asked Connor if he was armed, and if Connor said yes, he told him to drop his gun. The deviant also told Connor to tell the helicopter to go away. I believe this whole series of events is part of the negotiate instance. If you do whatever he asks, he trusts you, and is willing to surrender. In other words, the best use of the gun in this scene is not to shoot it, but to in fact drop it as a sign of good faith, which I think is pretty clever. And I haven't even mentioned the best part. Like Heavy Rain and Until Dawn, if you make the wrong choice and your character dies, they're dead for the rest of the game. There's no do-overs or restarts. For example, you might find yourself with the second ending, where the deviant shoots you. Well, tough luck. Maybe you live, but the girl dies. Well, too bad. You have to live, or die, I suppose, with those consequences, and the plot will respond accordingly. Gameplay aside, I'm very interested about the themes of Detroit Become Human. Taken right from Quantum Dream's website, quote, "We wondered how we, humans, would react if we were confronted with a new form of intelligence. How androids conceived as machines would be perceived if they started to have emotions. We didn't want to do another story on AI. There are already so many great ones. We wanted to talk about what it means to be human, and what it would be like to be in the shoes of an android discovering our world and their own emotions." End quote. And that statement shows up so much in this demo. The deviant android has a crisis, because he realizes what he actually is. A slave and a puppet. Used and then discarded after his owners have no more use of him. Even though it seemed like he really enjoyed the family he was with, they were going to replace him. This would be fine if all androids worked as intended, and didn't have feelings or emotion, but this one does. I also want to see Connor grow over the course of the game. I have the feeling that throughout the events that unfold, Connor will slowly discover that he too has feelings. Take a look at one of his deaths, for example. Perhaps I'm reading too much into it, but I don't think a normal android would close their eyes and wait for the end. It even seems like he's made peace with his fate, knowing that he saved a life. Connor may also be conflicted when the deviant says that he betrayed him.
You lied to me, Connor.
His face doesn't show it, but I bet he's starting to feel something. I also want to see more of the relationships between people and androids, and if this hate towards androids, displayed by the mom and police chief, is common amongst people, simply regarding androids as machines, and if this perception changes throughout the game. Now time for a prediction. I think it's quite possible that CyberLife, the company Connor works for and the ones that make these androids, are going to be the game's eventual antagonists. Maybe Connor and the other characters begin to realize that more and more androids are becoming sentient, and that what CyberLife is doing is wrong. And then maybe CyberLife sends people or androids to silence them permanently. It's kinda out there, but I think it's totally possible. I cannot wait to see more of this game, and I'm excited to watch our characters learn what it means to become human. Thank you for watching. Once again, my name is Ryan, aka Lethal Llama, and I'll see you next time.
My name is Connor. This is our story.